Now the next thing I usually like doing at this point is actually creating the Facebook ads templates, the image ads. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and save this. I don't know why this keeps popping up, my RoboForm thing. And then go hit preview. And then in the preview, you can download the image here. If it's going to show up or not. There it is. Okay, so once it shows up, I'm going to right click, save image as. We'll go ahead and save it in the same spot. Have to name it something else. I'll just call it front 2. There we go. So now I got that saved. I'll actually create the ad in Photoshop now. So let's just put that one to the side. And a new ad, I'll make it, I usually always make it 600 pixels by 315. That's what Facebook suggests. 72 pixels per inch, 8-bit color there, white background. And we'll just put that 100%. So you click the little magnifying glass and then click on actual pixels at the top there. Will bring you the correct size. And then what I want to do is stick that shirt image in there. So if I go and take a look, well, one thing actually we might want to do now that I think of it here, let's go back to that design here. Let's return to the preview. What if we add another shirt style? Like say we want to do a women's style shirt, because there are women pilots, right? So it's always a good idea to at least add that to the campaign. So we could possibly add that to our ad image as well. So in order to do that, you have to go back. Oh, let's see if we preview first. I don't know. Oh, that's so annoying, that thing. Okay, there we go. Get it out of the way. I just wanted to see if the style, oh, here it is, the style. Okay, they put it in here. Now, once we add the style and come to the preview, now we can get to the different shirt. I'm going to right click and save this shirt as well. So now I have those two shirts and I can open them both up in Photoshop here. Open this one and this one. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of the white around it and put it into my image, or into my ad image here. And I'll show you the two main templates I like using when I first run my ad. One I really love doing is a blurred look, which seems to be very effective. Let me show you what I mean. So the first thing I'll do is I need to get that out of there. So what I do is get that out of the way. Over on the right hand side, I'll right click and duplicate the layer, and then I'll just hide the bottom one, and then I'll just use that magic wand tool, select in the white area and hit delete key on my keyboard. Whoops, I gotta select the right one. Delete, delete, and then Control D on my keyboard to deselect, or you can go select, deselect. And then over here, you want to right click and select Convert to Smart Object so that you can resize it nice and easily. So I'll go ahead and grab the other, what's that tool called? The Select tool. And then grab the image and just drag it over to my ad. So I got that one, so I'll just delete that. Now let's get the next one with the women. Do the same procedure here. Duplicate the layer. Make the background layer invisible. Use the Select magic wand thingy. Hit the Enter key. Hit the Enter key. Control D to deselect, right click, Convert to Smart Object, and then drag that over. Now we have the two shirt styles. But the first one, I actually don't even think I'm going to use the women's in there, but I just want to show you how to do that one as well. Anyhow, now I'm going to put this one in the middle, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so we can see the whole thing. So I'm going to select the corner again and hold down the Shift and Alt key, so I can resize evenly and just get it in view there, like that. Then I'll make a copy of it. I'm going to hold down the Control and Alt key, left click and drag, left click and drag again. I got 2 copies. I'm going to take those 2 copies. You can see them over here. I'm going to drag them underneath the other one. And while they're still selected, I'm going to select the corner. And then I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Alt key and make them a little smaller. At the same time, like that. Then I'll just move them sort of like this. So you can kind of see it. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll take these 2 and I'll make them blurry so the one in the middle really stands out. But before I blur them, let's make sure we save it. So I just went Control S on my keyboard and I'll save it as add 1. And so then what I want to do, let's take this one in the front and give it a drop shadow. So I'm just going to double click this layer over here and then click on drop shadow, and you'll see it gave it a drop shadow there, and I'll usually give it a distance of 0, and I'll just spread it out a little bit more so you can actually see it. Kind of just play with the settings here a little bit so you can see that it gets kind of dark there around the edges. And you'll notice that really thin white line. To get rid of that, let's add a stroke of 1 pixel on the inside. And then you want to change the color from black to just the color picker comes up. Just select somewhere in the shirt. Similar color. So sort of gets rid of that white line that goes around. Pretty neat. Now here's a cool little trick. Let's select this object over here. And you know that whole shadowing thing I just did? Well, you can save that as a style. So if you double click that layer again, you can see we have some style settings. We did the stroke, we did the shadow. Well, over here we can click the new style. Click new style. You can name it to whatever you want. Click OK. And then over in the style windows up here, at the very bottom, the last one, that was our new style. And so check this out. If I click this one back here and hit that button, it automatically just does exactly what I just did to the middle one. Just a cool little trick, but I actually don't want to shadow those ones. So I'm going to go back to this button here. It's called the Actions button, and go over to the History and select here and delete that last history item. That's how you kind of do the undo sort of thing. And then what I like to do is sometimes put a nice big color in the background. So let's just take the box rectangle and just make a big box here. And we'll make it so it fits the edges. Make sure the snap is enabled under View, Snap. That little checkbox is checked so that you snap the box to the sides. Hit Enter to resize it there. And then I'm going to take this box and just bring it down to the bottom. So it's underneath all the shirts. And so that'll make it stand out a bit. And then you can just play around with the colors. I usually just bring up the color thing and start looking what looks good, you know. Have it stick out. Probably not a good idea to use blue, because blue is sort of like the colors of Facebook. You want it to stand out. Like a big green like that probably would really make it stand out, and people would see it pop out. Then you can go to that same layer, double click it, and make a border. So do the stroke on the inside, and you can even give it a red color. You really want this sucker to pop. Make it a little bit bigger size. We can give it more depth by putting an inner shadow if we want. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So you can see that a shadow will appear on the inside in the green. Gives it a little bit more depth and really pops out at you. And so that'd be an ad I would test out. Like that one, obviously, people are going to see it just by looking at it. It really fumbles around with your eyes. You're like, oh, what's going on here? That catches people's attention. So that's one ad I would do. Let's create a new one. Here's another idea. We could take, let's say, a black background. Whoops. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's take a black background here. And I want to make this bigger. I'm going to hit the magnifying glass and hit actual pixels to get it bigger here so you can see the actual size of it. I'm going to save it as add to. And what I'll do is I'll take the image from the other ad and just drop it in here. And you can't really see that shirt, so I'm going to have to get into that background and lighten it up a bit. So I'll just, you see my layer there, I'll just double click on the little box to bring up the color. Get a different color back there, like maybe this red sort of color like that. Try something like that. And then one thing I like to do is I'll put this over to the side, and I like to take the logo and put the logo right in here. Let me show you what I mean. So remember the logo we created here. Right now it's all separate objects, but I'm just going to go and select them all with my mouse. And then I'm just going to... Okay, I got to get this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to select all of these with my mouse. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to right click, and then you can select duplicate layers. Duplicate layers. Click OK. Now they're still all selected. Now on my keyboard, I'm going to go Control E, as in Mount Everest. Everest. E. Control E will put all those onto one layer. Finally, I'm going to right click and go Convert to Smart Object. And now I'm going to take this object and I'm going to drop it onto here. Now it's all one object. I'm going to grab a corner and hold down the Shift and Alt and just resize it so it will fit into the ad. And this one's really long and narrow, so I can actually take advantage of that. Put that over to the side and have this here. I like putting the shirts over top. And I can grab that other shirt we created. Remember we made it invisible, the women's shirt. I want that women's shirt in here as well. And so I'll do that and I'll resize it so it looks about the same size. Get this one a little smaller. We drop that one in behind. Let me just get this in view here. Drop that one in behind. Click our little styles button. And this could be another image ad. You can put a border around it if you want. But you can also just take this, this here. You can also give it a drop shadow if you want to give it some depth a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes I do that. It looks kind of cool. So I'll go drop shadow. Then I'll just drop the distance down to 0. It sort of gives it a bit of depth, so it kind of pops out just a little bit. Sometimes I like doing that. So there we have 2 ads. I'll just get rid of that there. There we go. 2 ads. So I'll go ahead and I'll save that as File, Save As. I usually save all my ad images as PNG. That's because PNG doesn't have any loss in the quality of the image. And since it's Facebook hosting the ad images, it doesn't matter how big it is. So you might as well take advantage of the fact that Facebook's hosting the image and they're the ones dealing with the bandwidth. So might as well make it as most high quality image as you can get so that it looks nice and clean inside of people's news feeds. So I always save it as PNG. But if you save it as a JPEG, just make sure you don't compress it. Just make it big. Who cares? Let Facebook servers deal with it. So there we are. We have 2 ads that we've just created for that t-shirt. Now I'd like to make one more ad. It's usually a really good idea to make at least 3 ads. But honestly, sometimes I get pretty lazy. And if I'm doing like 10 designs uploading at once, I'll just do 1 ad just to see which shirt's actually going to sell. But if you really want to dial it in, you sort of need to have at least 3 ads per design. And what I'm going to do is I like to do my designs like that, my ads. I change them up all the time and try different things. Like I'll move the shirt over here and make these smaller and put them down the corner. And I'm not a big fan of adding buttons and all this other stuff to it. At the end of the day, what I found from all my testing is like people need to see the shirt and what's on the shirt. If you sort of take away from that with saying, oh, discount and all that other stuff, I didn't really find it added much to my bottom line. I don't know, maybe it does if you test it a lot, but to be honest, most of my skill is in the design part of Teespring stuff. The ad stuff, I'm not that professional yet. I'm still learning, but from what I've learned from reading all the courses and from doing stuff, it's like basically you never stop trying new things. Never just stay with the same thing. So always keep trying new ideas. That's how you become successful. So I just went over to Google and went to Google Images and typed in pilot, and right off the bat, this one right here popped right out at me, and it looks pretty funny. Big guy looking at it with big eyes, big smile. That just looks hilarious to me, and I think it might work. Who knows? Let's right click, save this image as. And you're probably wondering, are we allowed to just take these images in your images for Facebook ads? In my experience, I've never had an ad shut down because I've just taken an image from Photoshop. Sorry, from Google. Like, the thing is, you got to realize you're only going to have your ad running maybe for like a day. Like, you're always changing ads all the time and refreshing images, and at the very most, your ad image will be shown for 7 days at most, and after that, it'll never go online again. So you never really have to worry about that, and Facebook they will not approve your ad if the ad, whatever's in it, is inappropriate. Like if you have a naked woman or something like that in here, obviously they're not going to approve that. Like or like some sort of violence or blood or stuff like that, they're not going to approve it. It's almost common sense, something that you wouldn't want to see probably wouldn't be allowed, right? But I wouldn't worry too much about coming over to Google and grabbing some images like this and just trying it out. I even tried one time. I took an NFL player and I put one of my jerseys on them and I put that in an ad. I had no problems with that. No one ever complained about it or nothing. So, I pushed the limits. That's obviously not allowed to do something like that, but I did it and I didn't get in trouble. But I don't recommend doing that. I'm just saying that the point is Facebook is not going to come hunting you down when you use an image like this or something like that. I've never heard of anyone getting in trouble. So I wouldn't worry about it too much because your ads are only running for a maximum of 5 to 7 days, if that, because usually you'll pause an ad if it's tiring out and you try a new one. So let's get back to here and we'll make a new one. Let's open up that image we just downloaded here. So I'll just drop that in here like this, and I'll make sure that the image is a smart object first. So, or not this object here, so you have to get things out of the way. Now select this here, right click and convert to smart object. And we can put it in like this. Usually when I include an image, doesn't have to be that fancy. I'll just grab the shirt, pop it right here. Maybe make it a bit bigger. That's about it, really. Maybe make it pop a little bit. You maybe want to put a border around it. It just looks so funny. That's a great ad. Keep calm and drop your gear, and a big smile on his face. That's got to bring some attention. It's going to make someone laugh, definitely. Let's make a border here. I'll show you how to make a border. So if you just put that, I just grabbed a square, rectangle object, just made the rectangle, and I fit it to the outside of the ad there by snapping it to the corners, making sure again you got view snap checked right there. Hit the enter key, and now over here you'll see if you just double click this, and in the binding options here, select binding options default, and you'll see fill opacity. Just make that down to 0. So now you can see right through that object. Now put a stroke on, select stroke there and make it on the inside. Then you can make the size bigger, and now you can see you're making a border there. And we can go ahead and make it red. Oops. You can even give it inner shadow like we did with the other one. Play around with that a little bit. Make some depth to it a little bit. That's about it. Now you can see with that shirt, another thing you can do, you see the drop shadow is dark. It's making it so dark around here. Sometimes I make it a light drop shadow. So if you go to the drop shadow here, so I select the shirt object, double click the layer, bring up the layer style, go into the drop shadow. Under this blend mode, select normal, and then click the color and go to white. And now you can see that it's white around there and it pops out a little bit better. So when you have a darker image in the back, it's better to have a white shadow instead of a, it's more like a glow, I guess, than a dark shadow. So that could be our third ad. So if we save that as a PNG, now we have 3 ads that could possibly definitely tell us whether or not the shirt is going to be selling or not. So we got that ad, this one, and this one. You'd even try a different color instead of the red.